You can see my screen, yeah?
Good.
I go to the sea full of doubts and worries and self-hate for this body I live in. I spend 5 to 10 minutes in communion with the waves. I squeal like the little girl I was and never could be. And when I exit and look down upon my body, swimsuit clinging to all my lumps and bumps, water dripping off my ruby raw chocolate skin, I feel like the goddess I am. I feel alive. And this only happens through my body. My body here and now. I'm grateful for this body that I experience the world through. This is why, or one reason why, I return to the sea, so I can take these treasured feelings towards myself throughout my day into whatever situation I find myself. Holding these feelings of self-love like a lantern in my chest that can be rubbed to release the magic genie of love whenever I need that boost. Whenever I meet somebody's hate, I can meet it with love. I'm not going to cite the statistics and findings that are in the mainstream, which state how access to green spaces supports our wealth and well-being as human beings, how fostering a closer relationship with nature, with the landscape, can have remarkable healing effects. I'll sooner share the statistics, findings, and stories that are not being amplified, which shine a light on Black and people of colours, BIPOC, relationship with this green and pleasant land now and for hundreds of years. On a personal level, as just illustrated in the extract taken from my mixed media memoir, I learned to love myself through loving nature. I can walk in the forest, climb a mountain and swim in the North Sea and feel held, feel not judged, but accepted for who I am. When I've spent my life deprived of love and looked upon as other, I'm going to appreciate this relationship. I'm going to love the landscape even more because she accepts me. I then took this concept, we are nature, we are one, to its logical conclusion. So if I love her and we are connected, then the conclusion is I love myself. And what's even more important for you is that through this reconnection with nature, this not only helps me reconnect with myself on a more authentic level, but it means I can reconnect with you on a better, more loving level. Even if you think less of me as a human being because I am a Black woman, that is your problem, not mine. This self-love through the love of nature doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It's a practice. I recognize I'm more privileged. I'm in a more privileged position to the majority of Black and people of colour. The statistics speak for themselves, with 98.1% of Black people in the UK living in urban areas, in comparison with only 79.1% of white people. I have a car, I'm educated, I know how to play the game and make myself agreeable to others, after spending a lifetime putting others at ease at the expense of making myself uncomfortable. I'm one of the few Black faces I see around in my neck of the woods on the northeast coast of England, and I know for a fact I'm the only Black body on the beach and in the sea when I'm there. And I'm reminded of this fact when anyone who isn't staring at me as if I'm a specimen asks me if I'm enjoying my holiday, or if I know what I'm doing getting into the sea, as there's some weird currents in these parts. My reaction at the time depends on if I'm walking into the sea or out of the sea. Rural equals whiteness, And it is a fiercely protected landscape. And if we as Black and people of colour migrated here or born here do not belong on the land or in the landscape. And because we live under white supremacy culture, we as Black people have internalized this lie that we do not belong there. And I know from experience, this is a lie. This is a false construction of history and reality, which comes down to power and vested interest. We Black people on the whole stay within the urban areas, away from the unknown territory. We stay in our place. We stay in the crowded boxes instead of roaming free on the land, which is abundantly vast and mostly unpopulated, enough for all, but is owned by a very small number of people who keep it to themselves and sell it back to us as tourism. And also part of our heritage, but not my heritage, as didn't you know, these country houses and gardens we all visit on bank holidays have no hidden histories surrounding empire, colonialism, and, oh my gosh, God forgive slavery. I'm not going to cite the recent backlash around the National Trust report, linking over hundreds of its properties and collections that were the result of colonialism and the transatlantic slave trade. However, I am going to cite Octavia Hill. Living in Victorian London, she believed green spaces was essential for health. She said, quote, "We all want quiet. We all want beauty. We all need space. And unless we have it, we cannot reach that sense of quiet in which whispers of better things come to us gently." The National Trust, established under the motto, "For everyone, forever." But this isn't the case when members of the Trust leave in their hundreds because the facts doesn't sit well with their fantasies of the English countryside. Members and the general public don't want the truth. They can't handle the truth and would rather just see beautiful houses and gardens and, quote, "not have others' opinions pushed down their throats," end quote. Opinions, not facts, but opinions. Land justice is a question of racial justice. This blocking of historical knowledge, the lack of education about the British Empire, which isn't anything new, fosters hostility towards things that should be common sense and common knowledge. If you look at what happened in the past and the atrocities that happened in the hands of the British Empire, repairs need to be made. Land of Our Names, Lion, is a collective which aims to facilitate Black people and people of colour reconnecting with the land. Lion works within a reparative justice framework, which relies on an understanding of the history behind Black and people of colour's communities' disconnection from the land. Barriers. There are so many barriers that are in place that stop Black and people of colour accessing the countryside. I've already mentioned history and culture, gatekeeping, fear. Fear is high upon the list. Fear of the unknown, the lack of information and how to get into the countryside, but also fear around the perceived reception once we venture into the landscape. As racism is a fact in our everyday lives and moving into these spaces and places where we are marginalised, we must be asking for more punishment to do so. But of course, when I've had such a healing experience with nature, I'm not going to keep all of this to myself, especially when I know Black and people of colour in the UK are suffering, striving, and trying to thrive under racist policies, practices, and attitudes. I've instigated a number of different initiatives to increase diversity in the Northumberland landscape. From National Heritage Lottery funding, wayfinding, diversity, equity and inclusion in the great outdoors, is a project that aims to provide increased access and knowledge of the Northeast England's countryside, in particular County Durham and Northumberland, to Black, Asian and people of colour. We aim to understand and eliminate those barriers that I've previously mentioned that are in place that stop us having this experience and involvement and understanding of the surrounding landscape and seascapes. We aim to increase the number of range of people enjoying and learning from the natural world. Because we believe that through this first-hand experience, it's the only way that we can foster a relationship with our natural heritage. And also it means that as a group, we do start to care about nature and hence start to conserve and protect our natural habitats and species for future generations. There are three main strands to this natural heritage project: engagement, leadership, amplification. So here in this image we have, we work with groups of women and girls mostly, Black, Asian and people of colour women who are survivors of domestic and sexual violence. So we took a group of women out on a medicinal and plant exploratory walk. And straight away, getting off the bus, one woman said with a deep breath, quote, "It's nice to be out the city, feel the breeze on my skin like a kiss. Lovely." So already the trip had fulfilled its brief and we were only 1 minute in. And as the day went on and developed, we could see how each woman relaxed into the landscape, could see them putting down their load and becoming present to the moment of respite and reprieve, being connected with the land, and how they actually fostered a deeper connection with the land is when plants were pointed out, they were making connections with plants with what they had back home. And then they were sharing stories about their culture and heritage and bringing it to the English landscape. This is a group of Muslim girls aged 8 to 14 from inner city Newcastle. There they are at the SIL, the National Landscape Discovery Centre in Northumberland. And we piled on a minibus from the inner city to get out to the SIL. And we're looking out on green rolling fields, stone walls, and sheeps, as the girls like to shout, because they were excited to be out in the countryside. And, you know, the smell of the countryside menu hit them straight away. But one member of the group said, the smell of green. What's been good about these projects is not only increasing our presence outside in a safe and supportive way, but it's also how we've been contributing to a network of organisations and groups who are doing the same thing for Black and people of colour around the country. Also, I mentioned part of this was leadership. We've been training up Black women to be lowland leader expedition leaders, so they could lead our groups out into the landscape. Not only has this training increased their confidence and expertise about being out there, but it also acts as role models for the community. You see somebody who looks like you in a position of leadership and authority, it starts changing the narrative, not just externally, like who has a right to be out there, but also internally. Oh my gosh, maybe I could do this. Also, what we've developed is a podcast, the Earth Sea Love podcast. And this is another way through amplification of sharing our stories, women of colour, and our relationship with nature, and on a global scale. And during these times of lockdown, what we have been doing is making sure that we keep that connection with nature going through virtual events. And one way of doing that has been a number of nature immersion workshops where I'm outside at the beach or in a local park, exploring and creating for others to connect and watch, but also join in. And this has had a positive knock-on effect, giving others who look like me the confidence to go out there maybe on their own, but to explore what's on their doorstep. So another initiative that I'm involved in is something that's called Black Nature in Residence. And this is an Arts Council England supported project, which offers 4 writers of colour the opportunity to deepen their connection with nature through creativity. I'm the writer in residence at the moment with Northumberland National Park. And not only is it there to be visible within the landscape and hopefully attract more people to the park, but also trying to find the language that will marry my identity with the landscape. So when Northumberland National Park went public announcing their joy and excitement at having me as a writer in residence, with a press release and then a tweet that went out onto social media. I'm not sure if I was shocked, but I was disappointed, I would say, when feedback that they got about having me in residence was, as you can see in the tweet, another organization hijacked by the Black Lives Matter agenda. More BAMEs on the moon than in Northumberland. Stick to saving wildlife habitats, please. And another response, I hope the Northumberland Wildlife Trust mentioned at the end are not paying this writer in residence, because if they are, I will be ending my membership. I joined to protect wildlife from the impacts of this country's overpopulation, not to pay for diversity projects. I did reply. Oh no, yeah, I won't write my reply. But what gets me is that people are quick to accept nature's biodiversity and contribute to protecting it, loving it even, but cannot offer that same care and attention to their fellow human beings. Again, I could cite the recent incident of the BBC receiving over 100 complaints when they featured Black Girls Hike on a countrified segment. The feature was part of an overall theme, which was to encourage people to make more of their connection with the British countryside during the coming year, including trying to get outside more to exercise where possible. An important message. But because it was coming out of the mouth of a Black woman, then that mouth should shut up and not be given any attention. However, this backlash has had a positive spin because Black Girls Hike has garnered many more followers and attention and has been stepping up by increasing their reach throughout the country. I'm now the Northeast leader of the group and looking forward to leading groups of Black women out into Northumberland in the coming months. So repair is a long-term project. Healing is a long-term project. And it has to be part and parcel of a wider struggle for change. Land justice is racial justice, is climate justice. I learned their names the way I learned to breathe, under whiteness, with practice. Beech trees, bare branches with golden oval leaves rustling at roots. bright orange berries in bulky bushes, hardy fire thorns bob with blazing bluster. Like the backs of my hand, rough lined trunks slice by blooming rubber toadstools. Bracket fungi. To be on the inside is naming the parts necessary. Is something, say a country, only brought into existence once it is named? Who are you, bird who sings now, fledged upon the air? Sispi, sis, he, shimmer song to my ear. Thank you.